And now, without further ado, it is my great honor and privilege to present to you the Mayor of Harrisburg, Mayor Patrick.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you for inviting me out. You are the first because you asked. And I try really hard to have an open door policy at City Hall. This is something that I've tried to live up to. Anybody who wants to meet with me can meet with me about really any topic. And but that tends to be a formal setting. It's hard for some people to get downtown. And I thought we ought to sort of take it on the road here. And monthly now, for the next several months and into the fall, we're going to meet at a different congregation. We'll meet at a different synagogue. We'll meet at different parts of the city and have an opportunity to take questions as well as to sort of update you on some of the really exciting things that are going on in the city. I will say that this job of being mayor is a full-time job. There's no city manager. I don't have a chief of staff or a business administrator. I have to take a real hands-on approach with all the departments of the city, and that keeps me oftentimes sort of working on the minutia, issues of how we can implement this policy or how we can make sure we don't bust this budget item. But what's really important is to step back a little bit and talk about the big picture, which I hope we can do tonight. And we have some guests for your enjoyment. We have Chief Carter, who I think you all know, who I'll let tell you a little bit about the new precinct in a moment. We have Jackie Parker, who is our Community and Economic Development Director for the city. Lots of exciting things happening there. Also oversees our summer enrichment and parks programming. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And Cornelius Johnson has joined us from City Council. And I'm going to say, unprompted, that he has done an amazing job in his few short months already on City Council to really try and involve the public in discussions and conversations about some of the bigger issues facing us from a public safety standpoint. We just revised the way in which citizens can file a complaint against an officer. That's a big deal for the city of Harrisburg. We've tried to make it easier. It's now accessible. You can print out something online, which you say, why didn't this happen before? Well, you know, we're changing things, and we're trying to make it more public, customer service oriented. He's also led our conversation about proposals for the new marijuana ordinance. You might want to talk about that tonight. Happy to answer your questions. Still a work in progress because we're working closely with drug and alcohol and Dauphin County Youth and Social Services to try and have a bill that really makes a difference. We want to keep people out of the criminal justice system, not clog it up, and that's the goal. I thought I could start just with a brief overview, and then I'm going to let these guys give you a brief a couple statements, and then we'll take questions. And then if we don't get to anything or you want to hear me talk more in depth about other topics, I will. But I didn't want to monopolize all of our time just giving you a sort of state of the city. But I did want to start and talk a little bit about the finances of the city, because I think this is important. Everybody is aware of the amount of money they're paying in taxes and for utilities and for services. And we were a city on the brink of bankruptcy, as many of you know, just a few short years ago, and the city has made a remarkable recovery. I know there can be something of a misperception out there that somehow the city's recovery didn't work or isn't working, but the reality is it is working. And we have had for the last 3 years not only a balanced budget, but actually a surplus. And I'm very proud of that. And we're on track for another surplus this year. And I think that comes from the fact that I come from a business background. And I spent my life, first I started out as a teacher, but then I went into business. And I was very conscious of the fact that you don't need to spend every penny that you have. And you certainly shouldn't be spending money that you don't have. And we've completely transformed that approach to government on the city of Harrisburg so that we've built out a surplus, actually a nest egg, so that if we do have a crisis, well, we have a contingency fund now for the first time in the city of Harrisburg. And there was a lot of talk recently, and I think we should talk about this because it's never easy to raise taxes. But we did talk about how the city could be sustainable in its recovery for the long term. And we looked at the local services tax, which is the tax that people pay when they work in the city of Harrisburg. And we felt that this was a fairer tax to raise than the already high real estate taxes, which homeowners pay, and was sort of disproportionately fall on a small few, really a select few, those that are property owners. Instead, we wanted to put the tax increase on workers, and we put certain provisions in, again with the help of City Council, to make sure that in order to pay the tax at all, you basically have to work full-time and earn $12 an hour or more for an entire year. And if you do earn $12 an hour or more and you work full-time for an entire year, well, then you're subject to this new LST increase. And it is true that it was a tripling of the tax from $52 a year to $156 a year. But that is going to bring in the extra millions of dollars that we need. $4 million extra a year that is going to keep this city sustainable. It's basically closing that structural budget deficit gap which existed for many years and was sort of pasted over with last-minute loans here or sort of denials there. So when you think about it, I want you to think about it as yet another sacrifice, but one that was necessary to keep the city on that financial road to recovery. And that's important, and we're going to spend it wisely. The other major thing that we've done is we have reorganized public works into neighborhood services. And you've probably read about this and you've felt this. We had to start with the issue of trash and the issue of sanitation and issuing new trash containers, as well as purchasing new trucks and upgrading our fleet and hiring new individuals. Because when I took office, we were on the not only just having averted bankruptcy, but we had basically said we were going to privatize part of our public works. We weren't going to keep trash collection. We brought that back, again, working with City Council, and have established that as a profitable enterprise which allows us to put money back into neighborhood services. So we've been able to hire, through those sanitation bills, new individuals who are now able to do a better job of demolishing buildings in-house or mowing the grass in our parks. And all of that pressure has been relieved from the general fund and has been put on ratepayers. And that also is another means of expanding our scope. When we talked about that LST, one of the great things about the LST, and I'm not ashamed to admit this, media, is that the majority of people that pay the LST don't live in the city of Harrisburg. So it's a way that they can help. They can help with the overall city's recovery. Similarly, with sanitation, you have a lot of nonprofits. You have the government, which contribute to sanitation. And that is a way for them to do it. And you may have read in the paper over the past week that apparently we hadn't looked into updating our contract with the state for sanitation services for the past 20 years. And that's something you heard about the school district last year, you heard about the Commonwealth this year. It's a question of doing an audit which makes sure that everybody is paying their fair share, nobody's being exempted from it, so that then we can assess our needs and then pass on any surplus that we might have there back to you, the consumers, by way of rate cuts. And I do think there will be rate cuts as we move into next year, but we had to finish our complete sanitation overhaul. So I'm starting with the finances. I've got a lot more to say, but I want to move to public safety really quickly and say that we are fortunate to have a chief and Chief Carter who works tirelessly on behalf of the residents of the city on a day in and day out business and really does a tremendous amount with the limited resources that we have. We together are working on a strategy to free up additional city resources to allow us to grow our police department and put more money back into the police department. And one of the ways that we're going to do that, and you're going to hear about this, and it's going to be something of a contested decision, it's going to come up in the next couple of weeks, is we're going to take an increasingly large share, at least a larger share than in the past, from our community development block grant monies, and we're going to use them to help fund additional endeavors of the police department, ones that you want, such as youth outreach and making sure that we can help, again, prevent kids from entering into the system. That is our goal. But Chief, will you talk a little bit about our plans for a new precinct? Because that is something that we started with some funding last year and that we are close to bringing to fruition. And you have a portable mic if you want to stay there. You can come up here too. It's up to you.
I'll go to stand.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Hello, thank you for coming today. As we travel around Harrisburg, the police, I've been thinking about what Harrisburg needs. We tried a substation down on South 15th Street, and the substation is just housed a couple hours per day. And I started thinking about that. I said, what can I give the citizens of this city? What do they need to help with the blighted property and with the crime? And the answer was very simple. We're going to transform that substation down on South 15th Street into a police precinct. It's going to be a precinct housed 24 hours a day. You will see officers down there 24/7 going to roll calls, getting their duty assignments, and working out of those areas. Now, with that being said, that will drive down crime, that'll drive the bad guys out of our neighborhoods. We can take our streets back, we can take our neighborhoods back, and little young ladies like this can walk up and down the street and go to school without fear of any retribution of any kind. Our thing is that we want to make Harrisburg a safe city. We have an operation called Operation Safe City. I really can't get into that there too much because it entails a lot of different agencies. It entails cooperation with a lot of different agencies. It entails cooperation from the mayor's office. And I want to thank the mayor, city council, and Jackie Parker for having enough faith in me to have a vision to bring you a precinct like this. So we own this building down here now. We have people that are going to come in here and change the way that the building look. We're buying the 3 lots next door to it. And this year we're going to work out at their precinct. We're going to transform it into a precinct. We own the property, and we're going to keep building onto this precinct until we can build it up, until it is stable in the community down there. And that means that you have access to an officer 24/7, no more parking meters, no more coming downtown getting parking tickets or anything like that, because we believe that a police precinct should be accessible to the people that we serve. And that's just the first one. We're also looking uptown to bring another one up there, hopefully up in District 3 between McClay Street, Division Street, to bring another precinct up there so that we can better serve the citizens of this great city. Regardless of what they say about Harrisburg, the majority of the people are hardworking people here. They are great working people here. They love the city. It is only a small percentage that is committing all of the crimes. And I guarantee you, just like the military targets people, we are going after those people too. Because no longer will we want to have shots fired in our neighborhoods. We don't want bad guys running around with guns. If they want to carry guns, they could join the military. The military is looking for a few good men and women, So that's what we have planned. I want to thank Jackie Parker. She's been instrumental in helping out, and a couple other people. And I know that public safety costs. When it comes to city government, public safety will cost you. But I can say this here to you. We are doing more with less right now. When we had 205 officers, we had a higher crime rate in this city than what we have right now. I have some great young officers. I need more officers. We are hiring right now. We need people of color, but we will not turn anybody down. If you have a desire, if you're sincere, if you love helping people, be a city officer then, police officer, come and take the test. Anybody from 21 until, there is no age limit on it. Anybody 21 years of age. Even you, sir. Anyway, I want to thank you, for your time, and I'll be able to answer questions. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, Chief Stan, don't worry. We're just trying to give you an introduction here, but if you want to ask specific questions about community policing or about the new precinct or perhaps about our Mulder Square project, which we kicked off here a while ago, got stalled by the state budget talks, but it does seem that the ARPCAP funding is back on the table now, and hopefully is something which will lead to an award for the city. When we talk about police, we are doing more with less, but we're also working on ways that we can fund the police department more. And one of those ways was by making neighborhood services, the shift to neighborhood services, take pressure off the general fund, focus on those neighborhood quality of life issues, freeing up additional funds so we can hire more police officers. And we've been able to grow the police force continuously, even in this difficult budget climate, and we're committed to continuing to do that. That's not the only thing, but that is a part of what we're doing. Another part is making sure that we engage our youth. I just came from a meeting this afternoon to talk about how we can reach those sort of critical kids ages sort of 15 to 18 this summer, give them spaces where they can, well, this is the idea, spaces where they can chill out, learn something, but also have a safe space, whether it's for playing basketball, being creative with dance or music, not so much a structured program, which is more appropriate for our younger children, but actually a place, a hangout place, a safe hangout place. And that met with Jerisha Leaks, mother of Rayon Braxton, who was tragically killed earlier today. There's some amazing things, including some things happening right here on, down the street on Crescent Street, which is going to be really exciting, 6 to 9 in the evenings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we'll have more to announce about that. I wanted to let Jackie Parker talk to you briefly about another major city initiative, which is that we, one by one, are transforming all of our parks and playgrounds. And we're doing that through a series of partnerships with community groups and agencies. We just had a sorority fix up a playground. We have another group which has adopted another playground. Yeah, of course. And did a fantastic job. And you can see it on Channel 20, the makeover before and after. But we have also gotten some money from the Commonwealth to help look at some of our neediest playgrounds, to give them a complete reboot, and to look at Reservoir Park and how we can make that more effective. So just to talk a little bit about that, Jackie Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. Very happy to be here and so glad to see so many neighbors here from the area. First of all, I have to say that the chief is a pit bull when it comes to asking for money, and he dogged me for the money for the precinct. And so I know it's very important to the neighborhood and very important to the community, so we're very happy to oblige and work with the chief on some creative ways to fund the precinct. But I want to talk to you about the playgrounds. As you know, the city has 27 parks and playgrounds. And we did take inventory last year of the condition of these playgrounds. We had a consultant that was funded by the state, and he did an assessment of our playgrounds. And there are 5 very needy playgrounds around the city, geographically placed, and we took a look at them. We started last Saturday in the rain, and we had public meetings at these playgrounds to talk about equipment, to talk about accessibility, to talk about the needs of those playgrounds. So we're working with that. We received money from DCNR, which is the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, and we received money from the Department of Community and Economic Development. So you're going to be hearing more about that. We will be having more discussion on those 5 playgrounds. We also received money from DCNR for the redesign of Reservoir Park. This is major because we're talking about the use of the park. Should we have more bike paths? Should we have more walking paths? Should we have more, again, accessibility? How can we strategically place playground equipment? Should we have a splash park? So we're going to be hearing more about that because the consultant is just coming on board. We will be having, again, public meetings on revitalizing Reservoir Park, which I think is going to be awesome because it's a strategically placed and is very important to, I know, the community and the residents of the area. The mayor mentioned playground programs for this summer. And again, we did this last summer, very successful. We're going to start again at 6 different playgrounds. I have flyers here, and I will mention them, all 6 of them. Cloverly Heights, 4th and Emerald, 7th and Radnor, Wilson Park, Reservoir Park, and Sunshine Park. So those playgrounds, those 6 playgrounds will have playground programs from 10 o'clock until 3. Drop in. We want as many children as possible to take advantage of that. Lunch will be served, and every Friday we're going to have field trips for the children to get away, to experience new things. We go to places like the Strasburg Railroad. We've been to Lake Tobias. There have been many educational and fun kinds of activities for the kids. So again, you can drop in. We want the children to be committed, but we know how vacations are and childcare is. So we encourage all the children, and they can be from 6 to 16. And we have a good group of staffers. They know the kids. Many of them are from the city. Some of them have taken advantage of the playground programs over the years. So we really want to encourage the kids who say they have nothing to do in the summer to come to these playgrounds and participate. So
that's a good start.
Yep,
oh, yeah.
thank you.
And Jackie will also be staying around we can answer specific questions. For instance, I can tell you right now, we need lifeguards at our pools. And we can certify you, and we can train you, and we will pay you $9 to $13 an hour, depending on qualifications to be lifeguards. But we can't actually operate both pools unless we get enough certified lifeguards out of this community. We have enough right now to open one of the pools on time. We need to train another 7 or 8 more lifeguards here in the next couple of weeks. So if you can help us, if you know a young man or woman who can swim and who would like that type of a summer opportunity, help spread the word, okay? This job is an interesting job because a lot of the time you have to stand up for things and fight for things that you believe in, and I'm not afraid to shy away from conflict, whether it's advocating for the city to get its parking money or better allocation of resources if I have to. On the other hand, I have tried and worked really hard to have a spirit of collaboration, especially with City Council and the school district. You may not know this, but I go to every single City Council meeting, almost every one. I think I've got like a 99% record, as well as committee meetings, as well as town meetings, town hall meetings, in order to try and work collaboratively. And we've got a great spirit of new leadership on City Council, and we also do on the school district. And I'll give you an example. We recently passed, and you may have read this, a new tax abatement bill for the city of Harrisburg, which is important. It means essentially that if you want to buy a boarded up condemned house around the corner, and the city would be happy to sell it to you because we have a large repository and a massive number of things. They're available for $100 or essentially $1. You can put money into fixing that up without getting taxed on that for the next decade. And from a residential standpoint, we're trying to incentivize residential development strongly because we want more people to come and move into the city and more people to expand our tax base and to work in the city and to pay the LST and the business privileges tax and everything else that they would do. Well, economically, it just didn't make sense, and even now it's an incentive, but it's not necessarily the cure for individuals to put $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 into a house if it wasn't going to be worth that at the end. So we've changed the economic realities of fixing up our residential housing stock. And this refers to rehab especially, because there are other strictures on new construction and also other requirements for commercial construction. But the thing that we're incentivizing the most is residential rehab of small unit properties that are currently condemned or currently an eyesore for the community. If you're putting in a business, well, then we abate your taxes depending on how many jobs you create. And we evaluate it every year for the next decade. And depending on the number of jobs you create, that amount of abatement goes up or down. It's a very innovative approach that has not been tried anywhere else in the Commonwealth, but we're sort of leading from here. And I believe the county commissioners are going to vote tomorrow, and will hopefully vote to support this, and the school district voted to support it. So I think it's that new spirit of cooperation. We're also cooperating with the school district on a very exciting plan for city residents for a new composting site for the city of Harrisburg. It'll be off Arsenal Boulevard on land that is currently owned by the school district, but there's no school there anymore. And our goal is to provide a place for not only leaf collection and woody waste and yard waste, which we can then turn back as a resource for our parks, maybe sell, give away to residents, but also for food waste, which could really revolutionize our trash system here in Harrisburg. Believe it or not, the incinerator doesn't really like to get food waste because it's mostly water. It's, and it doesn't burn well. And as a result, if we can take that out of the stream, they might even incentivize us taking that out of the stream. This all has to be worked out in such a way that we can make it financially viable to basically compost and recycle all of our food waste in the city of Harrisburg. We could lead in recycling and composting. In just the last 2 years since I've been mayor, we have more than tripled our residential recycling rate. That is something that I'm very proud of as well. It wasn't just getting bigger containers, but I think it was making it easier for people to recycle. You don't have to separate out your recyclables. That's an awfully nice thing. I know at my house, and I hope at your house, we actually recycle more than we throw away because there's so much that is recyclable now. And that was not something the city ever had an interest in doing when we were in the incineration business. So that's happening. That's a collaborative effort. I want to let Councilman Johnson speak for a moment, if he'd like to, if he wishes, to let you know a few of the things that are going on at City Council. Again, I already made it clear that I think the new spirit which he and others recently elected have brought has been a desire to really engage you. And he's doing a wonderful job at it, and I think it will lead to a much more cooperative relationship between both branches of city government in the future. So Cornelius, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but this is what you get when you come out to the meeting voluntarily. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. So this was really impromptu. I really came to be a citizen today to kind of listen to you guys' concerns and seeing what I can do from a city council level to try to help you guys out with that. But I am happy to be here to represent city council. Myself and along with the 600 members who serve with me are really working hard and diligently for the city of Harrisburg. We're basically in a time where we're trying to do our best with little resources, but it really comes to making sure that we're addressing the critical needs of our citizens at this time. And a lot of times that comes from citizen participation. I'm really big on having citizens participate more inside their government, because a lot of times when we're up there making those decisions without citizen participation, we can't. It makes it easier for us to justify what's critical and what's not critical. So, I encourage you guys to, attend as many city council meetings as you can. Always feel free to get in contact with, myself or any other city council member or our city clerk at any time about any of your concerns, because that's what we're truly here for. Our branch of government is really a representation of the citizens of Harrisburg and making sure that, your needs are currently being met. I do like the direction that the city is going. I'm very optimistic about the future. I feel like we all have many similarities and only slight differences. And if we work through those slight differences to really focus on what's important, we can get a lot of things done. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm here to listen. If you have any questions that I can answer, I'll be more than happy to answer. If not, I'll get you the answer. So let's get to it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Cornelius. And just to let you know about the legislation that, in fact, we're going to have a working meeting on tomorrow, we're trying to take marijuana use as something and reduce it from a misdemeanor, which it currently is, to a summary offense. And we're trying to strike the right balance in that. I've been very vocal in saying I've got young children. I don't want any of them using drugs or marijuana. But at the same time, I don't want, I really detest the fact that under state law, you lose your license if you're caught with marijuana, and that could lead to a whole cycle of additional problems in your life. And I don't think it is a good use of resources, and certainly puts a mark on people's record that we don't want to have. So we're trying to address that in the context of a larger conversation and discussion. Now, I could go on all sorts of different topics, but I brought you the best and the brightest of the city of Harrisburg. And we are here to listen to you and to take your questions and concerns and criticism, anything that you have. That's the idea for tonight.